As an employer, you get happier employees and contractors.
Yeah.
They're satisfied with the setup that they have. I know for us, we actually have contractors because I can't call them employees because we're in different countries, but they are full time. They've been working with us, some of them for 4 years plus. What I hear from them is they have a lot more time to spend with families. We have contractors from all stages of life. So we have people that have kids and they really enjoy having the flexibility to put their kids down for sleep or to work more flexible schedule and stay at home, cook and split their time
Activities.
with their
Yeah.
spouses. Yeah.
Hi, Sandra. It's so good to see you again. In our previous podcast, we focused on the marketing aspect, and today we will discuss staffing. So, actually, more specifically, the remote team, because your team is from around the world, right? So, you have a team of how many people right now?
That is correct. We have a team of 11 people, including myself and my partner Serge, and everybody else is from, pretty much all over the world, to different continents and different countries.
Oh my God, that's exciting, actually. So, if you can talk about the advantages and disadvantages in the virtual employment, because you already have so much experience with your staff. What they are actually?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've been hiring virtually for about 6, 7 years now since I started my marketing agency and our online stores. And there are so many advantages to both employers like myself and contractors or employees that are working with us. So just take a step back for anyone that's not familiar with virtual employment.
Yes,
It is
please.
It is exactly that. So, in the simplest terms, it is hiring someone that doesn't have to come physically to work with you in an office, at a facility, or whatever you're conducting your place of employment. So, in our case, we hire individuals from, like I said, all over the world. We are a marketing agency. We also have a couple online brands, and we've been working with them for 6 or 7 years. And I've seen a lot of advantages. I know from my team that what they love the most working from home is not having to go to an actual office to work. So
That's the obvious part.
90%, I think for most people, it's 90% of the benefits, especially if you come from a place in the world that is extremely populated. It takes a lot of time to get to work. I know when I used to work in Toronto, it took me about an hour and 15 minutes one way. So that's a lot of time that people can spend with their families. They can spend time on self-development, on health, on anything they want to spend that's not spent on the road. So that's number one. Number two, for employees, it would be savings and saving money. So anything from gas or bus or train tickets, not buying lunch, not having to buy lunch at work and can eat at home, or even not having to buy so many new clothes and shoes and purses as much as we like
I
buying those.
know. Yes,
We have the flexibility to say yes or no.
I know. A top would suffice, right? If you are working from home and you have a meeting, it's not like I don't have anything. I have like a nice pants right now, but I'm just saying, I'm focusing more on the tops lately. So
Exactly. No, I completely agree. I think my uniform has been like a black t-shirt and black shirts. Now I'm like, oh, burgundy, like this is different. Usually I'm just so plain. But a lot of benefits. And because of that, as an employer, you get happier employees and contractors. They're satisfied with the setup that they have. I know for us, we actually have contractors because I can't call them employees because we're in different countries, but they are full time and they've been working with us, some of them for 4 years plus. What I hear from them is they have a lot more time to spend with families. We have contractors from all stages of life. So we have people that have kids and they really enjoy having the flexibility to put their kids down for sleep or to work more flexible schedule and stay at home, cook and split they
activities.
spend with their
Yeah.
spouses. Yeah.
Mm.
And then we have other people that maybe just graduated school and they're excited to, go out in the world now. They're a little bit more free because they're not in school anymore. They can serve, they can go out, they can have fun, and they can come to work. So yeah, lots of benefits.
Yeah, and the time like spending on traveling itself can be
Hmm.
used more like spending with the family, with the kids, with something you
Exactly.
enjoy. And even if it's a half an hour drive or riding a bus, still you're getting maybe an hour extra a day you can actually use for your
Absolutely.
benefit, for your health, maybe for like joy, whatever works really. It
Exactly.
is, yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Mm. Okay, so those are the benefits. How about the disadvantages? There are any disadvantages, or we already talked about the disadvantages?
We haven't talked about it, but and I know this is very subjective for
It
me.
is.
I will always prefer to hire virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that some businesses will say that they want people in the offices. They want to see the team. They want to work. They say it's better collaboration. Personally, I don't think that. I've never had a problem. In fact, for me, because I hire virtually and I hire from all over the world, I have a bigger pool of candidates to choose from.
That's
And
true. Yes.
I
Yeah.
can really choose the people that match our
Mm.
values and match our attitudes and our type of work. And we're getting qualified people in different
Mm-hmm.
areas of marketing to work with us. So I feel like there is a place for everybody. There's still a lot of companies, of course, that prefer to have people at least hybrid, and that's all great. But if I'm looking at hiring virtually, for me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a lot of disadvantages. I love to see people, and I've
I
had
know.
some of my team members. Yeah, I've had
Mm-hmm.
some of my team members come over for a week or two, and we work side by side. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of looking at their productivity or their output, in my opinion, no difference when they were
No
with me
different.
or when they were or when they were working on their own.
And I think you have the same expectations. So you're hiring people who are actually looking for remote jobs, right? And
Exactly.
you have the same expectations. So there are no expectations over there. So I think it's great.
Exactly.
So now you have 4 years experience with remote team. In your opinion, what are the best practices for virtual team management and communication? What do you use to keep, you know, a flow of communication, for example, or how do you manage people from the distance?
Yeah. Yeah. I managing people is not a passion of mine, so I try to get people that don't need a lot of management. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Mm,
So yes, we will always have to manage a team, right? Including
yes.
myself. I'm part of the team. I have to manage myself. Whenever someone starts working with us, we have developed a very good onboarding system where in the first week they actually learn, they observe, they onboard. We have a lot of video tutorials. They get to
Mm,
do some tasks, and we have also developed a very good operations structure. So it's not a freestyle. I don't care how much of an expert you are. If you come and work with us, you have to follow our structure and our
yes.
operations. So the first thing that we do is we do proper onboarding. We talk about, I don't know if I like to call them expectations.
Mm,
Again, I'm being picky with the words, but more an agreement of this is what, because expectations implying, right? It's like,
yes.
oh, I was expecting that. And I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes we have expectations that we can be left disappointed. Agreement,
Mm,
we'll call it an agreement. So you agree to work in a certain way. We tell them how important communication is. So you asked me about communicating. We have a pretty robust communication, I'll say, rule. I'm maybe even strict, but for instance, in our organization, we require everybody to be, no matter where they're in the world, to be online on Slack between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern because we're a Canadian company. We work with mostly businesses in the United States and Canada. So that doesn't mean they have to be there and like log in and log out. But if we have meetings and I see your calendar is free, then expect to have a meeting between those times. If we need help, collaborations, we need to do a touch points, expect that you'll be contacting during those times. Outside of those times, I don't care when you're working, except for when your clients need you, we're onboarding, or something is extremely urgent. So that's number one, when we communicate and how we communicate. We make it very clear to our team that we're not to call each other on our personal cell phones or hunt me on Instagram, or unless something's burning. And probably the only time I had to be called on Instagram was when one of our clients, I don't know what they did, but they lost their Instagram account. So it was a pretty big deal with a marketing agency.
Yes.
But other than that, we'll make it clear. Communication is using work given communication methods. So Zoom, Slack, email, and our project management software. You're not to call us outside of work hours or on our personal cell phones, or like I said, hunt me on Instagram. I don't care that we're connected on Instagram. That's personal. We're gonna like each other's photos, but you're not gonna message me to approve something that you want to get out tomorrow.
That's great, actually, and you provide all the materials, the video training, which is great.
Yeah.
You're probably available. You have probably a person who actually takes care of the onboarding, I'm assuming, or it's you, or it's somebody else.
No, we do have someone dedicated.
You have,
yeah.
Okay. And you have probably a system in place, so you know exactly, and because you work with like big clients, so you can't just guess what your employee is thinking or is going to act or react. So you have to make sure that employee is actually prepared for different situations. So you have like a plan or plans, like plan A, B, C, whatever plan there are, but they are in place, right? And it's important to.
Yeah, what we decided was we're a marketing agency, and marketing requires a lot of creativity, and there's a lot of your own personal flair that you can put in your work as a marketer. Yeah. And we do want to celebrate everybody's strengths, so we try to give projects to our team according to their strengths, according to what they like to do most. Having said that, we have an operational structure in place that follows a process where it doesn't matter who I put in that job, they will be able to conduct that job just the same as the other people in the company. So you have a preference for, let's say, e-commerce fashion, and I'm going to try to give you projects in e-commerce fashion. But if I have a financial, like an accounting firm, for instance, or a real estate firm as a client, and I need you to be on it, then you're going to follow the process to do your work. So yes, we want to celebrate everybody's individual talents and creativity, but our organizational structure is set up in a way where I can plug anybody on the team into that process, and they're going to know what to do with that project.
This is actually amazing. And I actually want to ask you about the strategies. What strategies do you use for the remote performance evaluation and feedback? Because it's beautiful if we can work in our field, in the field we love, but still we have different clients and we have to work for those clients. So sometimes we can't just choose.
Exactly, we can choose to an extent. So it's great that you asked me this question, because today we're actually doing internal team check-ins. So I'm in the middle of this is my break from teams check-ins. So we do that every month. Yeah.
And I really appreciate your time. I know you are trying to be very consistent.
It's honestly, it's perfect timing, because that's what's on my mind today. It's exactly this. It's team management, right? So I would say the same way you do it in person, right? So you as a manager, as an owner, as a team leader, you have to have crystal clear clarity on what you're evaluating your employees or your contractors, your team on. So what are the KPIs, the key performance indicators that are required to be successful in this role? Communicate that from the beginning, and then communicate it at every check-in point, whether that's every week, month, or quarter, or whatever. What are you exactly evaluating them on? Is it just the output? Is it just the targets? Is it just we're doing our work? One thing I would say it's different with the virtual hiring in the virtual world is we got to remember that not everybody has the same I'll call it attitude or outlook on how they do team gatherings. So you might think that because you have people in an office and they're exchanging like a word or two with each other every day, everybody gets along and so on. When people are working from home, they don't feel obligated to do that, and that's totally okay. We have different personalities and we have different attitudes towards those like social things, right? So be very careful to not be, I guess, blindfolded by little behaviors and attitudes that have nothing to do with the work, but just because someone's not on Slack, let's say, or on Teams or whatever you're using as your main communication every day, saying, hi, everyone, good morning, everyone, and they're not doing their job, make sure you're not blindfolded by that enthusiasm someone has, and you're overlooking someone that actually comes in, does their job. They're from 9:59 till 2:01, but they're doing their job. They're doing everything that I asked them to do. So have crystal clarity on what you're evaluating them on, and be honest with yourself on things that, if you catch yourself thinking about things that are not related to their work, and you're evaluating them on that, try to stop it and keep it just at work. I know when I was employed, and I was employed in employment, actually.
Yes, in that field, yes.
I had comments about my attire because one manager said I'm dressed way too fancy to be talking to people that have no jobs, and I'm like, okay, well, these people are in between jobs. Doesn't make them. They like fashion too. They like dressing up too. Some of them are better dressed than me, right? It's like my style. So stuff like that we've been I guess judged on and evaluated on, and it didn't work out in my favor. Now the good thing about working from
it's easy to judge and put a label, right?
Absolutely. But the nice thing about home is I per se don't care. Like I obviously tell my team we have to be professional, but frankly I have had a large chunk of my team is from South Africa, and it gets extremely hot. And yes, I've had team members, some of top performing team members, show up in a client meeting in like a tank top, and I was, what? That's her style. It's not a problem because she's excelling at her job. She's kind of like she loves her, surfing, dancing activities and whatever, and that's who she is. And that's totally okay with me. It's people's style. So
I don't think you have any complaints, right? Do you have any complaints from the clients? So
I've never had complaints from.
That's the barometer, right?
Not at all. I honestly thought I would when I've been, living in Europe for 2 years. I've lived in 40 Airbnbs and more, and I had an Airbnb last summer where I didn't have good internet. So to take my meetings, I was actually walking, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I love those! Oh, the shore, the coast. Show me the sun. Show me the sunset." And I'm like, "It's just cool, like people are not judging me. They're just so excited to see me walk around the waterfront."
Actually, I think it's a better vibe, to be honest. I read some studies that if you're a happy person or a leader or wherever, like an employee, you're doing your job actually better, and you're more creative, and engage. Your conversation will be better, and it's only positive. Everything it's positive, and what I might see as a downside is you don't see the engagement of the employee if you are like not in the room. And I know one of the tactics in the staff retention is observing the employee at work, because what happens when you are asking in a survey or like a direct conversation as a feedback, they want to be perfect. They want to give you the answer you are expecting. And I think the one that you are actually observing, not even telling, you are observing, just observing, you are getting the first-hand feedback. If that person, but probably you have different other ways to see if that person is engaged. The time of response, right, to the emails. So,
Exactly. That's
it's
exactly
so.
it. Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of shifting your perception of what engagement looks like because you're right.
Mm.
You don't have the person that greets you with a smile, or sometimes people's styles of writing may be a little bit more abrupt than yours, and it might give you the wrong impression. But there's
Yeah.
also the little nuances, right? So if you put out a message in Slack or in Teams or whatever other communication channels you use, you'll see who leaves an emoji, who is kind of like celebrating with you, right? So
Mm.
you as a leader, you as an employer, you have to initiate and then decide how you're going to observe. So for me, I do challenges, right? So today we did a challenge and I said, okay, challenge for everybody on your next reports, do your 80-20, evaluate your tasks and see where 80% of your effort is going, because I guarantee it's going to go towards
Mm.
20% of your output. And then I'm looking at how, are they excited about it? Are just like, okay, cool. Or are they like, oh yeah, we're going to do this,
The
So
reaction.
those are the little things, the reactions,
Yeah.
exactly. We also have social events. So every Friday, someone is a
Oh,
hot host. Oh yeah,
okay.
every Friday, someone. So we're not required to take meetings after 12 on Fridays, and everybody can just kind of end their week on Fridays because a lot of our team members are working later than Eastern time. So I don't want to
Okay.
take the time away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a hot host, you get to decide what's happening that day. So it can just be, last week it was beer and banter. Just bring a beer or whatever beverage you want. Doesn't have to be alcoholic, and we'll just talk about whatever and whenever. And that's what we did. Sometimes we have games, and again, we see, are people showing up? Are they engaged? Are they saying they can't do it because they don't want to, or they have too much work? And I'm like, well, I'm showing up and I have the most work on a team, right? So of course, not everyone's going to show up all the time. People have personal lives and other work
Yeah.
too, but there's a lot of ways to gauge.
Yeah, you're offering, right? You're offering these options, so that's actually very,
Exactly.
very, very nice. I just love it.
I'm
How
so
about,
glad.
yeah, how about in terms of the resources? How do you ensure that employees have the necessary resources and equipment? Because especially if they're working remote, right?
Yeah.
They need certain
Yeah.
equipment
So
or resources.
for us, most of our team is not from Canada. So everybody is a contractor, and with contractors, even though they're full time and they're committed
Mm.
long term, I would say you get people that are kind of used to being self-sufficient. So that's one of the advantages that I've been having. One thing that we do is, of course, the parity is different in different countries, right? So what we try to do is, which is another advantage of going virtually, what we try to do is we want to make sure we pay people enough or more than enough so they can afford to get the resources they need. If you're an employer and you're hiring locally in your own country, then it would be a good idea to help them. If you're requiring, just like you would buy a desk for them to work at an office, you can spend the same money helping them buy a desk or a computer at home. So as an employer, it is your duty to provide your team with the necessary work conditions. When you're hiring contractors,
It's
I make sure
a
they
bit
have what they
different.
need, and then we do whatever we can to help them get what they need.
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit different dynamics, but yeah, I think these days you can actually even order from wherever you are and deliver to a different place. So that's actually great.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's actually
exactly.
great. Yeah. How do you balance the flexibility of remote work with accountability?
Yeah, that's a skill that I think everybody will need to learn because working from home
Mm.
is still working. So it's not like you can, do whatever you want, have a kid in your lap and like type with the other hand. Personally,
Mm.
what I instruct my team to do is to create boundaries where it's fine if you want to have a blended life, but put everything in your calendar. So in my calendar, I have everything. I have everything from
Mm.
my gym time, my lunch time, my dinner time, so nobody can book meetings. I have very strict times allocated for meetings. So you cannot physically book a meeting with me outside of a strict time.
Mm.
And what I also think it's extremely important to have a dedicated workspace. So I know it's tough when you have a smaller
Yeah.
space at home. You're working on a kitchen table. You got to pick up your laptop and put your laptop down and so on. If you can, try to create a dedicated workspace. Otherwise, it's just going to be chaotic. So assign time to work, assign time to life, and try to not blend them too much, and have a dedicated workspace.
No, I agree. And how to keep them accountable, and how?
My team, I don't
Yeah.
micromanage. So I've actually, I had a bunch of interviews for an executive assistant. So that was the last role we hired. And someone told me that she worked for someone that made her keep her Zoom open 8 hours a day so she can watch her work. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't agree with this type of?
I kicked my team off Slack. I was like, I'm like, you don't need to be here.
Yeah, but you're looking to the results, right? You're seeing the results.
I'm looking for. So everybody has to submit a plan of action for every client that they work on, along with the report from last month. And we have plans of actions for every quarter, 6 months, 12 months. I'm looking at the result, and I'm looking at them following the processes that we worked extremely hard to put together. So if they're not following the processes, then that's when we have a conversation. So yeah.
I agree. Do you have any tips for building trust and collaboration among the virtual team members?
As an employer or employee, or both?
Yeah, how you can help them, like, to collaborate, to have an harmony, right, between them. Like you said, when you're in the office, it's a little bit different because you say, "Hey, how are you?" You can see the mood or.
So for trust is earned, right? It's not a default thing. For me, communication, I would say communication. I would say if I wonder whether or not you're doing your work, whether or not you're applying to clients, whether or not you're going to submit your design request to the designers this week, if I start wondering, then that's when I have a problem. When it's taking a lot of my energy to manage you because and you're like, oh, I was just doing my work in my free time or whatever, that's when I have a problem. So for me, it's communication. I would say over communicate, both as an employer and as an employee. When things are in writing, it's very easy for things to be interpreted. So over communicate and be direct and try. In North America, we're not as direct as in Europe. So when we say it may be a great idea to do this, I strongly suggest you do this. I would say when you work virtually, especially when you work with people from different cultures, be a lot more direct than you would be, let's say, in North America. So sort of saying, you may want to get into the habit of replying to emails a lot faster. I would say, hey, communication is important for us. Let's make sure that we reply to clients within 24 hours. So communication would be number one. Number two would be following the processes that I taught you. So again, I don't care how seasoned you are. You still have to follow processes because you're working with a team, right? So I have everything in my head, but I still follow processes because otherwise the team doesn't know what I'm up to. And do what you said you're going to do. Don't wait to be told, what to do. Show up at work and be like, okay, what am I doing today? Be prepared. Send a weekly, I do this with clients too, a weekly update. It doesn't have to be a full-out report, but hey, this is what we worked on last week or this week. This is what I'm planning to work on next week. Anything from your end, anything that you should be paying attention to, anything that has changed since last time we talked in our monthly meeting. So communicate, send your updates and your reports. Do what you said you're going to do. If you can't do it in time, just communicate that, because again, when you're in an office, I can see if you're tired. I can see you had a bad night. Your kid was up all night sick, whatever. You have like bags under your eyes or whatever the signs are of you being tired. When you're behind a computer, I can't see that, right? So if you start getting snippy with me, or if you're just not feeling it today, you have to tell me that and not make me assume that something's not right.
Yeah, because you only have like a half an hour available for me. I have a last question because we are seeing more and more the hybrid style
Yes.
of work,
Yeah.
or employers are looking for more in-person work. What do you think in terms of the future? Do you see more like in-person, remote, hybrid? What is your perception on this for the future?
Personally, I think that for the jobs that can be done from home, they will be done from home. There's no reason other than you justifying your rent to have people in office. That's just my opinion. So I think that's awesome. Like I said, as an employer, you're gonna get more quality applicants. You're gonna get people that really align with your vision, mission, values, and you can choose what skills you're hiring on a team. As an employee, that's going to make you upskill and up level. So there's not going to be a shortage of talent anymore. All of the stuff quitting, and I get it, people want that balance, but at the same time, I think it's going to make everybody level up. The hybrid model, I think it's going to work great for when you have to be in office sometimes or in a facility, but sometimes you can do your work from home. So again, if you're, let's say we talk a lot about office jobs, right? But remember, there's people that work in like a store or car wash or whatever. If you're a manager or an employee at a store and sometimes you have to do admin, you can do that from home. You don't have to do it from the store, right? So if you have to be in the facility, that's one thing, but whatever can be done from home, I think people are going to push more and more to do it from home.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, actually. It's thank you so much for joining us today, Sandra. It's been great having you on the show. We've covered a lot of ground talking about the challenges, advantages of remote teams. I'm sure many of our listeners have taken away some valuable insights from our conversation. So yeah, thank you so very much. And
thank you. These were great questions.
I have a few ideas now about the next conversation, and one is the platforms you use, like Slack. I think I don't think it's very popular. I mean, maybe it's popular, but I think more people can learn about different platforms they can actually use for the remote team. So anyway, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to see you very, very, very soon.
Me too. Thank you so much. Always having a great time with our discussions. Bye.